Okay, do you have audio from us, Trish? Okay, some more little glitches there, but at least we're on the air. I think most of you that watch over the weekend see that the station's been black the last couple of weekends.
Yeah, what's going on?
Maybe if they had an executive director that would show up to work and
Or
oversee what goes on here, or even watch the station and know that what a mess it is. But anyways,
Actually,
we won't waste time on her.
Yeah, I know, but I was talking to somebody in the street. They were talking to me, and I said, I do a public access show, and they said, oh, that station is a mess. Sometimes I can't even get anything from it.
Yeah. Yeah, the board of
So
directors is a mess. The board of directors doesn't pay attention to what goes on.
So I don't think it's just us. I think it's more than us.
Yeah, it's the operation of the station overall.
As a matter of fact, one night I called Stan just to see, do you know how to fix this station? I'm serious.
The good old,
anyway,
the good old days.
He
the
never
good old
answered
days.
the phone, so I didn't leave a message.
Anyways, we've got an empty seat here. We're waiting for Jerry Pleasant to show up. We have a full list of things to talk about.
Oh, you think he'll show up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's on the way.
All right. Hello, everyone out there in TV land.
So why don't you go ahead with your announcements?
So hello, everyone again. Today's a nice day. It's not as bad as, previous days when it's so hot and everything.
Yeah, we got air conditioning in here. Unfortunately, it leaks into the lights with the condensation, so they got a bucket under the lights in the other studio. It's only electricity.
Anyway, I have a couple announcements as this week comes. I just want to remind everyone that we will be having our Maple Avenue NRC meeting this coming up Thursday, 6 p.m., St. Augustine Church Hall.
I didn't think you did it during July.
Just July, no August.
Okay.
July, we will be focusing on public safety as usual because that's very important to us. And then we will be having what we call a mini forum, question and answer thing with the people who are running for, state rep in August and registrar in August. And so we're having that like a forum, we call it. And that's at 6 p.m. It's open to the public, whoever would like to come.
That's this Thursday?
Yes, this Thursday. Everyone who likes to come, you're welcome. It's open for all. So, and then this South End Senior Wellness Center, as I like to let people know what's happening over there. There is a health and wellness expo coming up on Tuesday the 17th. Oh, that's my birthday. The senior, it's going to be at 830 Maple Avenue.
What are you, 35?
From 9 to 1. Yeah,
35 this year?
No, I'm 25.
Oh, okay.
I went down.
You and Trish are the same age?
Yes. So a lot of stuff is going to go on. Health screening and education, informational demonstration, games and activity. 40 providers and partners, agents will be there, and much more, they said. So please join the 4th Annual Health and Wellness Senior Expo. And as I said, that will be at 830 Maple Avenue. And if you need to contact anyone, you can. 860-757-0843. And also, as we usually do, every Tuesday at 11 a.m., they have what you call a brain fitness. I suppose, the older you get, Kevin, you need to make sure you're exercising your brain. Then I think it takes a lot of stuff. The muscle in the brain needs to be exercised.
Where's Jerry?
Where's Jerry? He's not here. And this is a good thing for Jerry. Maybe that's Jerry calling you now.
No.
Okay, so come out and participate in the fun, stimulating brain teaser developed by New England Cancer Center. You can participipate.
Can you post one of those down at City Hall?
Yes,
I think
because
they need to exercise
a lot
their
of people
brains
down
a
there
little bit
need some, some
Email
help.
that to the mayor too.
Well, I most likely think the mayor have this downtown. Whether he knows about it or not, I'm not sure. But join us at the Senior Wellness Center for some good stuff. Again, it's open from 8:30, I say 9 until possible 4. You can go by and see what's going on. It's always something good happening. A lot of activities happening over there. Lots of, clubs to get involved with. As I said, there is a lot of quilting, sewing, bingo, exercise. I like the exercise. It's really good. So please try to go to the senior center in the south end, 830 Maple Avenue, and go through the back because the substation is in the front. So you go drive into the driveway and go to the back. That's where we enter for the senior center. So I hope you'll take advantage of that.
And next week at this time, we'll be running a telethon to buy Jerry a new watch.
Oh yeah, Jerry doesn't have a watch?
It is not Jerry, it's the traffic in our city.
Oh, traffic, my goodness. But you know, I think he's right. There's a lot of traffic at 12 o'clock, and there's a lot of traffic at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
We are just a drive-through city. We're a drive-through
Commuter city.
Yeah, commuter city.
Get in and get out.
Yeah.
You don't get out till you
Nobody wants to spend time in the city.
Yeah, so how are we going to change that?
Changed. Okay, one of the things that happened a couple weeks ago, and we haven't really been on the air since, is we had that one afternoon of very heavy rain, and once again the Maple Muse condos flooded with sewage backing up from the MDC.
Yeah.
And now there's a dance going on as to whose responsibility it is. And that needs to be corrected. Back in, I believe it was 2008, the city council passed a resolution to get that corrected, and nothing was ever done on it. And now we've got Sean Arena, who's the property manager down there, called me the afternoon that happened because they weren't getting much of a response out of the city. And they eventually had 22 families that had to be relocated out of their condos because the ground level floor, the basement level or whatever, were full of sewage.
Well, why were they allowed to make, apartments in the basement?
There's a lot of that there's a lot of fingers being pointed now where the MDC claims they told the city planners that should have never been built at that level.
Is there a record maybe?
I believe there's letters and things like that. But
You'll always find some paperwork.
But the bottom line is it needs to be corrected. And the MDC did hire a contractor to go down there that night and tear out carpets and, suction up all the water and the sewage and put down disinfectants. But they've still got condos where the water came up the drywall, soaked into the drywall, that hasn't been removed, hasn't been repaired. That's a health issue.
Yeah.
And those, I'm sure the condo owners don't want to hear this, but those condos really should be shut down until all the bacteria and everything is cleaned out of them. And the city's not doing their
Kevin,
fair share on this.
It's sad to say, but we continue to be a reactive city. We are not proactive.
Well, we also have a chief operating officer that I don't know why he's still here. That afternoon, Sean Arena called him, texted him, and his response back was, well, the MDC is supposed to start working on Retreat Avenue during the summer. You've got 22 families. Why aren't you putting the mechanisms into place to say, get the health department down there, get the fire department down there, start relocating people. Let's get everything going that we have to do to support our residents. Those people pay taxes on their condos the same as everyone else. Yeah. And then when the media contacted the chief operating officer, he says, I don't know what they're talking about. This is the first I'm hearing of it. So I got the reporter from Channel 3, looked at Sean Arena's cell phone. I says, here's text messages at 5:02 in the afternoon. This guy's a liar if he's saying he hasn't heard about this.
But Sean had gone to the council meeting plenty times to talk about it. Right.
But it's a health issue.
Yeah, I'm listening.
It's also a liability issue at this point, since I think the council passed a resolution and acknowledged that there was a problem. I think some of the liability is going to be on them to make sure that this is fixed.
Following through, that's a problem.
Well, the sad part was one of the condos, they had a child in a wheelchair confined to the apartment. And when I went down there, he was sitting in his wheelchair with all this water around him and sewage in the condo.
Wow.
And then about 10 o'clock at night, we still weren't getting much of a response from the city. So most of these people hadn't eaten since noontime. So I ordered pizzas and had pizzas delivered because they can't go into their kitchens and cook with sewage floating around. So it was just very poorly handled by the city.
Right. Yeah, those condos, when I look at them, I said to myself sometimes, this is not New York City where people are crammed up.
Kevin,
why were they allowed to live in the basement? Because it's so, to me, when I see it rains anyway, it seems like water always gets down there.
It's a chronic problem, but it also seems like there can be ways when sewage was backing up into Weathersfield Cove, it was fixed almost immediately.
Right,
So why is Hartford treated like a second-class
and
citizen?
we are paying
Leadership.
taxes.
Yeah,
We're paying taxes.
yeah.
So
Kevin,
again,
when you were down there at the Maple Moors, did you see any other city officials?
I eventually, probably about 8 o'clock that night, I called the dispatch center and asked for one of the deputy chiefs from the fire department to come by because we needed to get relocation going. And then the dispatcher actually did a very good job. She made a few phone calls and got things going. A lieutenant finally showed up from special services from the fire department. And there was a little bit of a battle about who was going to answer or listen to who. Because the dispatcher told me to have this lieutenant call one of the assistant chiefs from the fire department, and he would authorize whatever needed to be done. And when I told the lieutenant what the dispatcher had told me, he says, I don't answer to her. She can call me directly. I was like, whatever.
okay.
Petty.
So then eventually that night, once Channel 3 got there and started making an issue of it, the health director showed up, which is the first time I met him, I was impressed with him. He lives right downtown, so he was there and started getting things rolling. The relocation, set up hotels right away for people to go to, and they paid for them to relocate to hotels overnight, which they kind of had to. At one point, myself and Sean were walking through it, and there was a young child, probably 3, 4, 5 years old, barefoot walking through his condo. And I was like, that's sewage. Get your kid out of there. Don't let him walk around. You know, who knows what's in that water. But anyway, then the fire chief showed up, the mayor's chief of staff showed up, and then eventually around 11 or so, I think the mayor showed up.
Did you get an inkling how long it's going to take to fix this problem, or if it's fixable at all?
I think it's fixable, but I don't think anybody's pulled the trigger on it yet. It's all finger pointing. That's the MDC's fault. No, that's the city's fault. And in the meantime, the poor people who live in those condos, some of them, this is the 3rd or 4th time they've had their carpets and their hardwood floors ripped up because of sewage.
But do you think what made it worse is with maybe all this changing of pipe and that made it really worse? I mean, it has never been this worse.
I think there's probably
Hyacinth.
some truth in that because the following day the MDC was out on Franklin Avenue digging up some big holes. So they probably found things plugged or clogged or whatever.
Another factor is some places simply inconducive to build.
Yeah,
They
well,
have a marked propensity for the water problem. That's not the
especially
only
when your
place.
sewer lines are at one level and you're building below that, the tendency of water is to flow to the lowest point. So it's got to be corrected.
So are the people still living in hotels?
No, they're back in their condos with the sewage-soaked drywall and things like that. That's what I'm saying. It's a health issue, but
Yeah, that's not
whatever. Okay, speaking of incompetence and inefficiency, let's go to the selection process for the police chief.
Don't look at me.
Wait a minute, it's unbelievable, Kevin.
Well, start us off, Jerry. And anybody that wants to call 860-524-8920.
Okay, bear in mind,
And what is
I don't
incompetence?
have all the facts, but the bits and pieces that I do have, I think we're down primarily to 3 candidates.
Well, actually four.
Four candidates, including
Who's the 4th one?
the chief.
Chief Ravella.
Chief
Oh,
himself.
well,
Okay.
you know what?
But the thing is, hear me out, please. And when Kevin talked about incompetence, when you take a look at the portfolio of the candidates, in other police departments or other municipalities, they wouldn't even qualify to be in the running.
As a police officer.
Right. They wouldn't even qualify to be in the running.
Right. There's one, and we'll rehash all this for the next 40 minutes or so.
I wouldn't say it's incompetency, Jerry. I would say.
You can call it what you
wait,
want,
wait,
but I'm going to call it what it is.
Okay, well, you can call it that way, whatever you want to call it.
I would
but the
say
point
it's
is,
borderline criminal that we paid a search firm to bring these candidates
that's what I
Let me just
could
read
lean
you. So one of the
towards.
candidates, who's one of the top 3, he was in Rahway, New Jersey one night. This is while he was working for the city of Trenton, New Jersey, where he was the police chief for a while. He came back in a different capacity as their public information officer. While he was in that position working for the city of Trenton, he had a city car. And one night, the Rahway, New Jersey police found him slumped over the wheel of his car. And when they tried to wake him up, he began fighting with the police officers, then broke away, led the police on a chase through the city or town of Rahway, and was eventually arrested. And after all this, he was charged with resisting arrest, reckless driving, driving while intoxicated, refusal to take a breathalyzer test, eluding police, aggravated assault on a police officer, failure to stop, improper lane changes, 2 counts of failure to stop or yield, 2 counts of failure to observe a traffic signal, and speeding up to 40 miles per hour to 25 mile per hour
See,
zone.
Kev, this is a classic example where administrative authority should have taken the black magic marker and crossed his name off.
Well, we paid a search firm $50,000 to bring us this guy. Now, this guy wouldn't even be qualified to apply as a police officer. He'd be washed out right away. When it came up that he was arrested for assaulting a cop and DUI, he would have been wiped out of the process right away.
And from what
this is what the Wasserman Group is bringing us for $50,000?
And from what I understand, one of the others has not really qualified.
No. One of the requirements is that you are a certified police officer or capable of being certified by post immediately upon appointment as chief. Now, post is the word for the Police Officer Standard
Statewide.
and Training Council, which certifies every municipal police officer in the state of Connecticut. It's known as the Police Academy down in Meriden. That's post. Well, their requirement is you either have to go through the full academy, 23 weeks, and then 12 weeks, what they call FTO, which is field training, where you ride along with another qualified or certified police officer, and they evaluate you and make sure you're up to par. So that's what you need, or you need to have been a certified police officer in the state of Connecticut not more than 3 years ago. So if you retired today, you've got 3 years that your certification still stays in effect before you have to go through the full police academy again. One of the people, this Frank Straub, who's coming from Indianapolis, where he's a director of public safety, he's never been a certified police officer, never went through an academy class. And that means that when he started here as chief, he would have to go through 23 weeks of training and 12 weeks on the street, unless post gave him a waiver, which they most likely wouldn't do since he had no police experience. He's one of the candidates. Can we really afford to have a chief come in and spend his first 23 weeks in the academy?
No, we can't afford
Kevin,
that.
what you got to look at here, as I call it, the facade. You have to bring these people in to make it look like you actually did what you're supposed to do.
I wanted to read some comments you made to Jeff Cohen at WNPR. You know, and these were, I doubt you'll be asked to be on a search committee again anytime soon.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
But one of them is, you told Jeff, you said, honey, I got to let you know this is all a facade and we did not need to have to go through all this. And then you said, so we waste all that money trying to find somebody who might be out there or may not be out there. Well, we have somebody. All we need to do is give him the power to do his job. To be honest with you, I call it a sham.
It is.
And I think that's what most people are calling it, is a sham.
It is, and the reason why I say when I met these people, you know, it's funny to say you put an application out there for people to apply for position and stuff like that, and these people know nothing about Hartford, okay? So, I mean, if you, and again, I want to know if these people that the search firm, did they go to these places?
Well, I think it's only fair to say you and I are both huge supporters of Chief Ravella because we've met him, we've talked to him, and you see the potential there for him to bring leadership to this department.
Well, when I look at these, I said to myself, okay, I'll sit and go through the motion because, okay, that's what they want anyway. But the point is, we have a chief already. We don't need to, but we have to put on the dog and pony show.
Jerry, you were there for quite a few years.
I know.
How many of these outsiders? How many of these outsiders we brought in were good chiefs?
Very few.
We brought in Marquis and
I'll tell you, I was not impressed with Marquis when you take a look
That's
at
what
his credentials.
I was thinking.
we brought in Harnett.
Oh, God, help us all.
Harnett was very good, very
What?
knowledgeable when it came to special services.
But he never.
How comes we had so much crime?
He was never a good fit with the community though.
No.
Nobody ever trusted him. Nobody ever.
I liked him after a
Gelled
while.
with him.
But the point is that he was never, as you say, not a fit for the city of Hartford. Not because you may do well somewhere else that you'll come to the city of Hartford and do good.
But
okay?
the problem, but bear in mind, you know, he has leapfrogged from a specialized unit to being a chief where you deal with multiple things dealing with public safety.
But what works in New York City doesn't necessarily work here.
You're absolutely right. He wasn't a good fit for here.
And again, I have to say, you know, some people are good at interviews, right? But in reality, if you really check what they actually done, nothing, zero.
Well, that's what I'm
Not
saying. You know, if we can Google,
no effectiveness.
in the day of the computers now, if we can Google somebody's name and come up with all this stuff, the drunk driving arrests and
Why would they
assaulting
bring
a police
somebody
officer,
like that to
why would they
us?
even bring that name forward?
And that's a question.
And what message does that send that you're bringing in a chief that's been arrested for assaulting a police officer?
What was the format in the selection process?
I don't think, you know, all I keep hearing from the mayor is that there was a process and he wanted to go with the process and let the process take its course.
What is it?
What is the
Wait a minute,
process?
that's not good enough, Mr. Mayor. You need to answer to the people.
But what is the process, Jerry? Have you seen any process here?
I would have liked to go
No.
to these places and talk to people in the community
No.
and see what they think
Well,
about their
the one from
chiefs.
Indianapolis is resigning as of August 1st. And he's essentially, from the way it sounds, he's being run out of town because of
Right.
several issues.
So let's run them to Hartford, okay?
Yeah.
We're the dumping ground of all the everything, right?
Yeah.
Let's everybody come to the
No,
city.
You need to quit the bull and leapfrog the process and make this man chief.
But I think in the end, and I don't want to elaborate too much on it, but in the end, people are going to say, what the hell was going on here? When they see what the final outcome is going to be.
It's not in the end, they're saying it now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get better because the end result is going to be what we all want.
Well,
But it raises the question, what were you doing from the start?
But
But the
until
point-
it happens, Kevin, until it happens, you have to be careful.
Well, that's why
But the point is,
I'm being very,
Kevin, we don't want you to go jinx anything now.
They may send us a
Okay.
nightmare.
that's
The
why I'm
point
being
is-
very guarded in what I say right now. Because
The point is, I was glad they gave me the opportunity to see these people, even though, you know, they're all screened out like everything else. Bring them in, we interview them, and we listen to their answers, you know, to the questions very carefully and try to figure out which one of these people were just full of baloney or whatever they may call it, whatever the case may be. Would they actually fit in our community?
when is the
No, they
forum for
won't
this?
fit in our
well,
community.
I don't think the Wasserman Group fit in with the community. So how are they going to know what we want? And this whole thing tonight that's going on at the library at 5:30
I'm not sure what
is
that's
another
all
sham
about.
because the public can only submit written questions, which means they're going to be censoring everything that's asked. They don't want the public to be able to stand up and ask a lightning rod question that might embarrass them. And you know that if we wrote a question, something to this guy about, you know, explain to us your arrest for assaulting a police officer, and do you think that makes you qualified to be chief in Hartford?
I think that's a good question.
They will never read that.
But
I guarantee
we'll
you they
see
will never
though.
read it.
We'll see though. I think you should submit that question, Kevin.
Oh, I think there's going to be some very good questions submitted, but they'll never see the light of day. And this,
That's
you know,
all
this
right.
brings us back to another point, though. This is all orchestrated by the city's chief operating officer, David Panagor.
Your friend.
Not my friend. I think when you talk of incompetence, I think he's the height of it. You know, and I ask people all the time, name one success of his since he's been
seen
here.
any.
He's a Perez administration holdover. I don't know why Pedro has kept him. He's embarrassing the mayor every day, day in and
Everywhere
day
of the
out.
foot,
Look at
everywhere.
the market at Hartford 21, $400,000 he gave away of city dollars that could have gone to other businesses that really would do something with it. And now this whole police chief selection process is his little baby.
But the point is, where is the economic development? We just hire a new economic development person, but where is
Well,
previously?
and somebody, I just
what
talked
has
to
he-
somebody this morning that said you need to look into this guy in Providence because he did not leave Providence on good terms.
Most
So
likely,
we'll do a
as I
little,
said,
we'll
we
do
are
a
the.
little digging on that.
As I said, we are the. As I always said, we are
I don't
the.
even know his name, the new economic development director for
We
the
are
city.
the.
Yeah, I don't know his name. I heard about that.
We're the stepchild, okay, or the adopted child. We're in the middle of anything, and we need to work real harder to accomplish to make this city a better place.
Well, somebody called me this morning, and they were very vocal over this whole thing when they read on the blog the baggage that this Irving Bradley Jr. had. And they were saying something about how can we file a lawsuit to start getting this money back that Panagor has lost. And then they ended the
Well, how much
conversation saying,
other monies?
Doesn't Pedro Seguera want to be a judge? And I said, that's been the rumor for a long time, that he's trying to get Governor Malloy to appoint him as a judge. And this person
But you
said,
have to
well,
be
don't you have to make decisions as a judge? And Pedro Seguera will not make a decision if his life depended on it.
It is
You know,
kind of sad.
something you and I had briefly talked about several weeks ago. It's important for each councilman to have some facsimile of public safety, know how it works, what the problems are.
Well-
At least know the problems in your particular area.
I think that's the problem. We have some that think they know it all,
Yeah.
but
They
they
don't.
don't
What's
have
going
a
on?
clue.
So what
The
I have
council
done,
is kind of-
wait a minute, I had written some things in the past when I was working in planning, and I pulled those notes out. And also, I think Sean Wooden, and I am a supporter of Sean, let me make that clear, but he may need some help too. I got this book for him, Worldwide Best Practices in Crime Prevention, to give him an idea of the worldwide view of crime prevention. And he
But see,
can
I
take from
think-
this what he wants.
I have an
think that,
idea.
You know, I think Chief Ravella, you know, is, when
Wait a
he's,
minute.
if he's
We-
named permanent chief, he's
Even
gonna
the-
impress everyone.
Yes, he is, but even Novella needs some enlightening on some things.
Do you remember, like a week or so ago, the governor announced this new plan that's gonna be put in effect in Bridgeport, New Haven, and Hartford? That probation is gonna work with people coming out of prison and be like assigned one-on-one? That's Chief Ravella all over that. The Thursday before Easter Sunday, when he took me through the shooting task force and explained everything to me, that was one of the plans he mentioned. And another critical aspect of that is they're working with the mothers of
Good.
these people getting out of prison. Because the mothers still have, mothers and grandmothers, and I don't say this to be rude or whatever, especially in the black community, women have a very high role and they're very well respected. You know,
They're the
somebody
mom
can
and
get
the
away,
dads.
they can go and punch you in the head, Jerry, as a cop, but they will not act up in front of their grandmother or their mother. So that's a key part that I think Chief Ravella understands, is if you want to have influence over these guys getting out of prison, the mothers are the ones that can keep them on the straight and narrow.
There's something.
Trish likes that. Trish is in the booth clapping.
Doesn't
So.
apply to you, Trish. There's something else
No,
that.
Trish is a strong grandmother too.
There's,
So.
there's something that Chief Bell is working on, which I will not reveal.
Please, we don't want you to talk about anything that he doesn't want people
Oh,
to
you
know
mind
yet.
being quiet? Let me finish speaking.
Okay, all right.
She probably already knows.
I know, I doubt she knows.
Oh,
what I said.
yeah, right.
And I'll let him reveal it when the time comes, but I'm impressed of what he's doing. He's thinking ahead.
He's always thinking ahead.
There are some things that have been put in place in the past, whereas it may have been good for that period of time, but as we move along, some things need to be changed or enhanced or
Well,
alleviated.
even the vision of the guy, and Hyacinth, I'm sure you've felt this, but when you're talking to him with a problem, you know he's already 6 months ahead of you figuring out a solution. We'll ask this one to get involved, we'll do this with the courts, we'll go here. He told me that they noticed that on the shooting task force, the majority of the shooters they were bringing in were scrawny and undernourished. And I think I brought this up before, but he noticed that they obviously weren't being fed right at home. So one of the things he got with the PAL program, hopefully I'm not misspeaking here, but I believe it was Aetna that coordinated and now provides meals for all the PAL participants before they go home at the end of the day. Now that's not rocket science.
But you see-
That's just
Okay, you know what I would like
providing
to see?
stability for kids.
You know what I would like to see as you talk about the PAL program? I would like to see that we have a budget item for getting more kids involved with the PAL program.
There
or the
is.
cadet program. Not just, well, let's put it in the police budget because, and then when they cut stuff like that
But
out.
see, that's-
We got to get our officers, our chief, to feel that they need to do the investment in the young people because as you see, 85% of our kids that's in jail most of them are from Hartford. They're black and Hispanic kids. All right? And why is
And they're
that
from
so?
broken homes.
Yeah, they're from broken homes. And why is that so? Okay? So how do we expect kids like those to become police officers or fire chiefs or
this
fire
is-
officers?
It's funny you bring that up, and we haven't talked about this, but this is another conversation I had with Chief Ravella. At budget time, he was getting pressure to apparently cut the cadet program. Instead, he said, no, he said, I want to cut an assistant chief position and keep the cadet program going and actually build it, because that's where my minority officers are coming from.
Yes.
The Explorer program, the cadet program, the PAL program, those are all like the feeders to develop young children to be want to become police officers.
We would like to see not 20, but 100 kids every year.
The minority
in the
hiring
program.
is terrible.
Yeah, we still are lagging when it comes
Even
to
the
minority
command,
hiring.
the command staff is all white guys, and there's plenty of qualified minorities
So we don't
in the
have
department.
a department
That's
that
a
looks
problem.
like our neighborhood.
That's a problem I have. But bearing in mind, what many of you seem to forget, our requirements to be a police officer cannot be lowered.
No,
And to make sure we have a better selection, we need to expand the territory from which we recruit from.
But the thing you need to do is work with the younger people
Yes,
so that they understand that
sixth grade up or more.
this stupid mistake you make one night at a party
Right.
could
Can cost
affect
you.
your career, and it's not going to come off your record.
And
Right.
Now, the pet peeve of mine is now, we have blacks, Hispanics on the job who are smart, who have the capability of advancing. However, advancement's a matter of giving a chance, giving the opportunity to attend some of the schools and things necessary to move yourself up.
But Jerry, who was the chief for the last 4 or 5 years that pretty much propped all the white officers up for promotions?
Right.
And
And
didn't consider
not
minorities.
one of his-
In fact, he put roadblocks up in front of most of the minorities. Who was the chief the last 4 or 5 years?
Right.
And one of the things I agree, my son was the only minority lieutenant in the Frog Hollow area. He was taken out of Frog Hollow and put inside. So the captain could bring his man, who had a north end post, down into the area. See, we need to have watchdogs for things like this, and we don't have
Well,
that.
We do
that's
have
what we are, Jerry.
We do
but
have a watchdog because
we've got to get a mayor with
we
guts
have-
that will step up and do the right thing too.
we have
But
the
the thing is,
Centrum group
but
that's
but
pushing.
but you have to know what's going on and the inner workings of the
Well,
department.
but that is why we need a public safety school in Hartford, so we can
yeah,
make
what's
sure
going on with
the
that?
curriculum, the Board of Education and CREC, there is some issues there that needs to address. And I'm hoping
who
that the
suffers in the
chief,
meantime?
I'm hoping that the chief can sit down with the school board itself and start seriously looking at it, because that's one part of Centrum requirement, that they have a public safety school that can deal with our children. Because as you say again, Kevin, if we don't get them from that young age, develop them up to make them feel like, you know, guys, you have to stay straight. And there's so much discipline when you talk about, you know, the cadet or the other. It's just discipline.
But Harrison,
and making sure that these kids are feeling that, you know, being a cop is really a great thing to do. Because if you talk to these kids in our schools right now, they'll let you know, I hate cops.
Yeah.
They don't, because, and then it goes back again,
Not
we
all of
have these officers within our
But
schools.
you have to look at why do people hate cops?
Because
the most
their
times
interaction
people
with
interact
them.
with one is in a very
Exactly.
negative environment.
But that's
Kevin, something they used to do here many, many years ago, and they don't do it now, you need to bring in regular people from the neighborhood, you know, who has recognized position or leadership, to talk to
But you've
the men at
still
roll
got-
call.
You've still got plenty of cops there. Some of them are in leadership positions that foster that us against them mentality. It drives me crazy, and he's sitting in the booth here now, but Reverend Brown is in there watching us. It drives me crazy at his vigils, when I go to his vigils after a homicide, and you see the cops sitting in their cruisers with the windows rolled up and the air conditioning going. And more than once, I had mentioned that to Darrell Roberts, saying, Chief, you've got to tell these officers, get out of those cars, walk over, interact with the people, and you're going to start building those relationships.
Right.
But no supervisors go up there and say, hey, get out of that car, go talk to the people, start some personal interaction.
The same thing you're saying about Hartford. General Petraeus, one of our leaders in Iraq, is preaching to the officers assigned to that area. You need to interact with the people who
And
you're supervising.
I'm not here answering questions for Chief Ravella, but I know he thinks along those lines of getting people out of the building,
Into
back
the
into the
street.
community,
Yeah.
and getting them to interact.
Right. And Jerry may not like to hear what I have to say, but I continue to say, I do love and respect my community service officers and the guys that ride a bicycle and my lieutenant in my neighborhood
So you're
I see
fortunate.
them. They're on the street. They're talking to people. It's not all about arresting people. It's about talking to people in a respectable manner,
Hi,
so
sir.
people don't feel like, oh yeah, the cop and I'm there, and, you know.
All right, so let me pay you a compliment.
Okay,
I
he's gonna pay me a compliment.
no, because
You better watch out, it's probably a backhanded one. So you
no,
may-
no. If it is what it is, I have heard people speak very highly of you in the sense that you protect your neighborhood, that you care about it, and when something is wrong,
Her
that
NRC is a
you-
model
that
that the
you're
others
on,
should look
that
at.
you're on the phone, you're getting answers, and I commend you for that.
Okay, but I just want to let you know, I would like to see every neighborhood, officers, lieutenants, have that same relationship with their people.
See, you're
It can't
lucky
be
though,
just-
because you've got that relationship. There's other areas in the city that neighborhoods don't even know who their lieutenant
Exactly.
is, don't know
Right.
who their CSO is. You know, I'm lucky where I live in Asylum Hill, the officer that's assigned to the walk beat, Farmington Avenue and all around me, that guy he's in my parking lot every day on his bike, riding around. He knows everybody in that neighborhood, knows who's supposed to be there and who's not. But those are,
Few in a
it's,
dime.
But,
that
you know,
comes
yeah.
down to supervision.
Right,
And we need the area officers riding around in the car, if they do ride around at all, to pay attention to what's going on. If a car is parked on the wrong side of the street, it may be insignificant, but it's not. You should tag it. You should, or at least put a note on the window that you're on the
You
wrong
call
side
that
of the street.
But Jerry, even
officers.
a lot of the lieutenants who are assigned to zones, like, you ask anybody in your zone who your lieutenant is, and they'll tell you right away because he's out there, he's stopping cars, he's coming to meetings. There's other areas of the city, like downtown, for example. I spend a lot of time down there Friday and Saturday nights at restaurants.
but
having
my
dinner,
officers
whatever.
are down there, and why?
Well, that's.
I have a problem
because
with
they
that.
know
I don't think I've ever seen a lieutenant
because
walk
you
in the
have
streets
you have
downtown.
less of a problem in your area than most
No,
areas.
no, no,
that's-
no, no.
that's
We
being
got
addressed.
we got problem, okay?
Yeah.
We got problem. The burglary and all those kind of things. I want to see my officers.
Don't get too worked up. It's being addressed.
Okay, please.
What,
because-
what Hyacinth is talking about is, on weekends now, because they were spending, I think, $7,500 a week in overtime to pull officers downtown and pay them on overtime.
Yeah.
Chief Ravella made a change where they started using the conditions units and the CSOs to cover the downtown area.
It's not
Now,
fair.
I don't agree with that, and I've
It's
talked to
not
the
fair.
chief about this. It's not right. The bars are part of the problem. The bars should be the solution
You're
and start
southeast,
hiring
right?
their own officers.
I'm so
So
southeast.
that's going to go back to the
Yeah,
way it
because
was
you know the
before
point
too
is
much
that I'm saying when you leave us with no one in our neighborhood,
Friday and
that's
Saturday
when
night.
things are happening. I mean, I happen to walk up the avenue because I always walk up the avenue to see what's going on, and I'm seeing my officer, one of my officers, and I'm saying, well, oh, I'm so glad you're in the neighborhood
And
tonight.
I saw him.
He
I
said
saw
to
him
me,
later on that night downtown.
he said to me, oh no, I'm going downtown, and I'm saying, well, you're leaving me I have nobody's in my neighborhood.
I saw him Saturday at the fireworks, and I said, "You're getting Hyacinth upset when she hears that you're not in her neighborhood."
This is what I'm
He
saying.
said, "That's where we have to do that. That's where
No,
we're
so I'm
assigned."
asking whoever, and I'm hoping that will be Chief Ravella. I'm hoping that he can sit down and look at the whole big picture and see what needs to be done, because you cannot pull people from one part of town, take them to another place when crime is happening in the neighborhood.
But see, that place has been
Compared
so.
to the rest of the city, crime in your area is pretty much
The
down.
burglary.
Okay, the
Put in
burglary,
percentage.
burglary is a factor.
Yeah, it is high
Some
in
of
the
those,
neighborhood.
they caught a guy Saturday that admitted to like 11 or 12 burglaries.
See?
So
That's why we need
and
our
that's the
CSO.
problem with burglaries is usually it's one person that gets out of jail and goes on a spree and hits everything he can to start his habit up again or to get some cash. So, geez, I'm surprised Jonathan hasn't called us yet today. Jonathan, are you on vacation?
Don't worry about Jonathan. We have a lot to talk about.
Yep.
I see
Well,
Jerry with all this stat.
they had 9 arrests for burglary.
Oh, our
Yeah.
guys are doing a good job in our neighborhood. But we need to send people because
But
in the
your
evening
point
time,
your point is very valid because your CSOs are the ones that see who's walking in those neighborhoods,
Yeah.
see the cars that are there that shouldn't be there.
and when they're gone in the evenings and
It's a
nobody's in
free-for-all.
the neighborhood, it's a free-for-all.
Because your patrol officers may be there tonight, gone tomorrow,
Oh.
could be covering another district, could be covering somebody's vacation in the north end tomorrow. So there's not, the CSOs are what bring the stability to the neighborhood.
Our CSOs are doing a great job. As you say, they know the pulse of the people. They know what's going on. Okay? They've built
But again,
confidence
that comes
and
down
trust
to
in
the-
those people.
But in addition to the CSOs, bear in mind, those fellows riding around in the air-conditioned car, they're getting paid a salary to do it.
They get in salary, of course, but I don't
They
see
need-
them stopping for every
you're-
quality of
you're
life issue.
absolutely right.
And Hyacinth, I think you have to agree that part of the reason that your CSOs are so effective is because of their supervision.
Yeah.
Now, there was before you got the current lieutenant,
We didn't.
there was a difference in
Yeah.
accountability and what they
Yeah.
were.
And that's
nobody
why-
looked at
But
statistics.
Kevin, you know, I will call up, you know, or I'll call my son, look, I have this problem in the area, or I'll call somebody
But
I
you
know.
have that luxury.
You know, and I said, look, send a car out here and address these problems. My neighbors come to me
I can do that with my CSO.
to address
See,
problems
this
in
is
the
the
neighborhood.
thing though, Jerry. You have that luxury, but wouldn't it be nice to have a police department
Everybody
where the people
else.
that don't have those, you know, I could text the chief right now and say, Jerry Pleasant's out of control, send somebody over here. And they'd probably come with a straitjacket and take you away, but.
No, Kevin.
But I
You
mean,
have
you know,
insurance,
No,
and the
I'm just being,
Institute will
I'm
take
just
you.
being wise with that, but, you know, we know if Hyacinth calls and they recognize her name, or if I call and they recognize my name, things get done.
Yep.
I don't say that to be conceited or whatever,
No,
but
I
they
did
don't
it-
want the
I did
grief.
it done. You know,
But
the
Joe
noise-
Smith that lives on the corner of Maple Avenue doesn't have that luxury. When they
But
call,
Kevin, you'll appreciate this.
But think,
This.
hold on, Jerry's
this-
talking. Let's
wait a
not
minute.
Okay,
have that
Jerry,
fist-
all right.
so that-
Tricia's waiting for a
let-
fist fight, but not today.
White female in her 30s pulled up to the gas station on Washington Street.
Another
the
girlfriend?
mobile gas station. I have taste. She leaves her.
You may, but obviously
wait a
she
minute.
doesn't.
She leaves her vehicle. The music is blasting, and it's not good music. So I said, "Ma'am,
would you please turn it down?
no." I said, "May I bring to your attention that this city has a noise ordinance,
She said,
and
"What?"
you are in violation?" And she went up and down, you know, on my case.
let me-
you know.
let me
she
tell-
says to me, "See, you're not in uniform." And I had to explain to her, "Madam, let me explain something to you. I'm a taxpayer, and I helped write the original
Did
noise
you
ordinance."
expose your gun to her a little bit?
You're better not.
I'll tell you a story that, you know, like I said, the more I see Chief Ravella in action, the more impressed I am with him. But I had something I wanted to talk to him about 2 Fridays ago. So I texted him and asked if he was downtown, and he said yes, and we met up right in front of the Russian lady on the corner of Ann and Allen. And we were standing there for a little while talking, and this car, I think, Jerry, you call them hoopty cars, this car comes flying up Allen Street, squealing his tires with one of those real loud mufflers, almost hits a couple people. The chief and the lieutenant from the shooting task force, they step right out in front of the car and motion them over. Neither one of them were in uniform, but I think you had to realize when you saw the badges on their belts and everything. And the first question they asked the kid driving the car is, "Where are you from?" And he said, "East Heartland."
Oh,
And
gosh.
they said, "Would you drive like this in East
No.
Heartland?" And he said, "No." And they said, "Well, you're not going to do it in Hartford."
Right.
And then they proceeded to go through all the beer they had open in the car. They made him pour it all out at the curb. They had a traffic officer come and give him a DUI test, which he passed. And then he got a ticket for several $100s for driving like that.
Well, you see, that's the message.
That's the tone that needs to be
That's the
set.
message that I want to see our chief put out there to say, hey, you're not coming
But you-
from
do you know how
some-
many- you know
you're
how
not
many-
coming from your suburban town, coming to our city and continue to make us look bad, okay? We're going to have almost a zero tolerance for crime in our
Well,
neighborhood.
you got to have the bodies out there on the streets to do that.
So we
but-
got to put them out there.
But even, it was funny because people coming out of Agave in the tavern were like looking at this like incredulous that somebody's actually getting stopped for loud noise in Hartford. And if they only knew it was the police chief that was doing it, there were cops that actually pulled up eventually to, you know, help them out with lights and everything. And I think even they were surprised that the chief was making a traffic stop. But I think that's
But
part
this
of
is
what
the chief of the community, and I think he's just one of those
and of the
persons
department. And
that-
I think that's what a lot of the cops are impressed with, that you're touching my knee.
No,
there.
no, no, it just happened to be.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
We got Reverend Brown watching us. You can't start doing that stuff on TV here. Oh, watch your hands. No, the chief is willing to go out there and do, you know, what he expects everyone else to do. And I think that's the tone that really needs to be set, is that he's a leader. He won't ask you to do something he's not going to do himself.
Right, and that's the chief we want.
And you know, when you look at everything combined, even the homicides, you know, one homicide is one too many. But the fact that we're half of where we were last year at this time, and out of those, the 9 homicides so far this year, 7 have been, solved by arrest. That's a tremendous
And that's
number.
a big thing too. When the crime happens, make sure it's getting resolved, okay?
You need to take your hat off because.
Take your hat off, Kevin.
The HPD had 19 burglary arrests last week. That's high. That's a high number.
Well, that's what I said. They had a guy they caught in an active burglary Saturday morning.
It's 19 individuals at different times for burglary, which means hopefully next week's statistics, burglary should be way down.
A lot of things playing. That could be somebody that in a domestic situation breaks into his ex-wife's house or something and gets arrested for domestic and charged with burglary. But like the one I was talking about on Saturday, he broke into on the corner of Hudson and Buckingham, the automotive place. It used to be Bill's Automotive. I don't know what it is now.
Oh, yeah, Bill's.
Apparently he broke into there and was caught in the building. And when Major Crimes interviewed him, he admitted to like 11 or 12 other burglaries and gave him addresses and times and stuff.
But the problem we still have.
That's a one-man crime wave.
But the problem we still have is auto theft.
Yeah, if you're insured, it's not a big deal.
But the cars.
As long as it's not my car.
The primary car that's stealing are Hondas.
Well, of course, that's something for years and years. Yeah, you don't even have a key to get them anymore. You can just go make your own little piece of key.
Well,
if you can steal one without a key,
we're almost out of time. This time goes by so quick when we're
still got 10 minutes.
When we're sitting here.
Well, let me salute the chief for
Well,
recognizable progress.
hopefully he will be our permanent chief in the next couple days.
Now, I have been asked, what did I think about him? And I gave him a favorable rating. I said, he knows.
He knows.
We know what we're
Should
getting.
we ask him what he thinks of you?
I don't care what they think of me. I'm set.
I just want him to keep tabs on them bad guys in the city. Did you watch the governor face the state yesterday? I didn't get to watch it.
But I know he wasn't happy with the speed at which things are moving in Hartford, which is unusual for him.
No, it's not unusual.
He doesn't want to be the mayor of
wants to
Hartford.
see the city works, and he knows it can work.
Clear.
Okay?
He considers himself a Hartford resident.
Of course.
He wants to see Hartford succeed.
He lives here.
It's the capital city.
If anything, he goes to Stamford in the weekend. He lives here around the clock.
It's unusual for him to be critical of the city.
Because
he doesn't
things
want to
not
be the
moving.
mayor. Well, yeah.
Okay, I have a word for Mr. Wooden and Mr. Anderson.
Oh, I thought you just said it already.
I'm going to drop this by your office, and once again, for our viewers, this book pertains to worldwide best practice in crime prevention.
Where did you pick that up?
Never mind.
No, I'm just curious. Don't you want me to look at it too?
At a conference.
And also, Kevin, I got some notes from way back when I was working in planning, that mirrors much of what's being said here.
This thing for this forum tonight to meet the 3 top candidates.
Yes.
I've been getting phone calls, text messages. Oh, we do have a call. Somebody just texted me. They want to ask the one guy tonight,
the one
Irving Bradley was arrested.
Uh-huh.
Who won the fight when the cop pulled you over for your DUI?
Come on. we got to be civilized.
Right there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Is that tonight, Kevin?
Who won the fight?
Is that it?
We do have a call.
We have a phone call. So go ahead, caller.
Kevin and Heinzen.
Oh, that's your
Jonathan?
friend.
Caller, go ahead.
Pleasant, how you guys doing?
We're not getting anything in here, Trish.
Hello?
Connected.
How you guys doing? This is Reverend Brown.
Oh, he's talking to Reverend Brown.
Y'all can't hear me in there?
Reverend Brown.
Trish, we're not getting anything in here.
Okay, let me go out further and then I can make my
That's
comment.
Reverend
Oh,
Brown.
Henry, just come in and ask your
Okay,
question.
can you hear me now?
No. Trish,
Can
tell
they
him
hear
to
me now?
open the door and ask his question right here. He doesn't have to call us.
Okay, how you guys doing today?
We're still not
Hey,
getting
Kevin,
anything.
I just want to say about Chief Rovella.
Just
Yeah.
to get off the
I
phone.
think he's the man for the job. And he has my endorsement. I think with the work he's done with that Harvard Task Force, it's been incredible. And I think that we should look within without going outside, talk about bringing somebody that's in that's not familiar with Hartford.
Yep.
Chief Varela, he knows what's not to be done. So let's give him the full confidence and let him get in and do the job. I hope Sagalo has the sense enough to hire this man and not an outsider. That's all the comments I have. God bless.
Yeah, the mayor. Right?
Yeah, sometimes you wonder, does the mayor have the sense to do it, or is he listening to his chief operating officer a little too much? And that's another question. Nobody really knows where Pedro gets his advice from. I don't think he has any real close confidants that are telling him what to do.
Not that I know.
And there's another issue with the chief, and where the shooting task force is housed in the old Quirk Middle School. That was a building that the Board of Education really didn't want. And then when the shooting task force was formed, they set up their offices in there. The police academy's in the building.
I think the mayor should go to the school superintendent and the school board and said, we want this building, okay?
Now I see what Jerry says. Let me finish my point. So there's kind of a turf war going on now between the chief and the superintendent of schools of who's going to get it. And what I keep saying to people is the mayor appoints the majority of the Board of Education. If he wants that to happen, all he has to do is say, we're passing a resolution to let the police have the occupancy of that building.
She works for us.
Chief Ravella has definite plans that, there's swimming pools in there, there's 2 gyms, there's an auditorium. He plans on using all those for community events and community action. But the other part that I don't understand with the superintendent, she could show some real leadership saying, I'm going to reach out to all my Board of Education teachers, and we're going to find a handful of teachers that will go there and mentor these kids in their homework, anything education related. They'll be there in the afternoons providing assistance to these kids.
They're not thinking.
That would be a program that would gain national attention.
It would just because it's going to work, that means it's going to happen.
You're asking for rational behavior.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is what leadership, this is what we elect a mayor to do. Put everybody on the same page with your vision and make it happen. Don't make everything a battle. Don't make everything a fight.
It has to be. That's why nothing seems to work in Hartford for long. Okay, when something works, somebody have to do something to prevent it from working. Okay? Because they always want to have something that they have to fix. Okay? We don't need anyone from outside coming to fix us. We have somebody here we can work with to make our neighborhood a better place.
Well, somebody else just texted me that we should make copies of all the news articles about the candidates being arrested and bankrupting the city to hand out to the public tonight.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's what we should. But
we know that these people are not going to be it. I'm hoping that it ain't going to happen.
Oh, we're running out of time here.
Okay.
But this is the difference between someone that thinks they're a leader and somebody actually is. The governor got his reform education through because he was a leader and he made it happen. That's his vision. Mayor Segura is not providing vision to the city, and he needs to. We'll see you next week. We're out of time here. The credits are all rolling. Trish, you can pull us out. People have seen enough of us.
She's doing it already.
There we go. Okay.